My name is Lindsey Milton. I teach Algebra 1 and Calculus here at Airline High School in Bossier Parish. As an educator, I am most passionate about making higher level mathematics attainable for all students who enter my classroom and encouraging them to continue to pursue more advanced courses as they continue through high school and potentially college. The students in this video for this lesson are my 9th grade Algebra 1 freshmen. This lesson is a review of the functions that we studied in the Springboard Algebra 1 curriculum in Units 2, 4, and 5. Their objectives for this lesson were to determine whether a table, a graph, or a context represented a linear, exponential, or quadratic function. They were also asked to write linear and exponential functions and identify the domain and range in a context. We will use this lesson to kind of jumpstart our review for the EOC, which our kids will be taking next week. All right, guys, so our goals for today, we're going to be reviewing our functions from Units 2, 4, and 5. So we're going to be reviewing linear, exponential, and quadratic functions. Today, you're going to be looking at tables and graphs and functions to identify whether they are linear, exponential, or quadratic. You are also going to identify the domain and range and write linear, exponential, and quadratic functions to represent a context. Okay? Now, the cards that I gave you, you have a blue card that says linear, an orange card that says quadratic, a yellow card that says exponential, green and red for growth and decay. Now, each of the following questions, I need you to determine whether it represents, like I said, linear, exponential, or quadratic, and you hold up the appropriate card. If you think it's a linear function, you're going to raise up your blue card that says linear. If we determine that our function is exponential, then I'm going to ask you, is it a growth function or a decay function? And you're going to hold up either your red card or your green card. Is everybody okay? Give me a thumbs up if you understand. Okay? All right. So function junction. What's this function? We have y equals 31 times 0.85 to the x power. Is it linear, exponential, or quadratic? So I should only see yellow, blue, or orange. Linear, exponential, or quadratic? Awesome. It is exponential. Everybody has a yellow card. Good job. Ty, can you tell me, how did you know this was an exponential function?
There's an exponent.
Where is the exponent?
It's outside of parentheses.
Okay, what is the exponent?
X.
X. So that's the key, guys. With an exponential function, x is the exponent. All right? Okay, let's look at the next one. What is this function? All right, so I'm seeing a lot of linear. So what you're telling me is that I either add or subtract the same number to get from one to the next. All right, so your options are linear, quadratic, or exponential. We'll get to growth or decay in a minute. You guys are not wrong, but before we say growth, you need to tell me what kind of function it is. Linear, quadratic, or exponential? Most of you just told me it was growth. There's only one kind of function that is a growth function. It's not quadratic, and it's not linear. So one more time, what kind of function is this? Exponential function. What do you notice happening here? 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So what's happening here is I'm taking my x term, and x is actually the exponent. When x is the exponent, what kind of function do we have? Exponential. Notice here that all of my x values are what I just put in the exponent. So show me again What's this function? Exponential. Good job. Now that we know that it's an exponential function, some of you are trying to skip ahead. Is it growth or is it decay? Red or green? Growth is green. Red is decay. Right, it's growth. Akira, can you tell me why it's growth?
Because the numbers get bigger.
Right, because my f of x values get larger, so they are growing, right? Let's look at another one. What's this function? Is it linear, quadratic, or exponential? Blue, orange, or yellow? All right. Teresa, you said it was linear. Why do you think it's linear?
Because you're adding 5 on the y value.
Right. Each y value increases by 5. So we are adding the same y value each time. That makes this a linear function. Good job. All right, let's do one more context. Johnny plays Fortnite too much. He currently plays for 6 hours a day, but wants to cut down on his playing by a common ratio of 1/2 each week. Which function represents the function of this situation? Is it linear, quadratic, or exponential? So red, orange, or yellow. I'm sorry, blue, orange, or yellow. Guys, I'm going to highlight something and give you a little hint right here. That word, that phrase, common ratio. What does common ratio mean to us? Huh? Common ratio is not the exponent, but what is the exponent on the common ratio? X. So if x is our exponent on our common ratio, which function is this? Exponential. Remember, so let me see them. X is the exponent. What kind of function is this? Exponential. He plays for 6 hours a day, but he wants to cut down his playing time. So show me, is this growth or is this decay?
Decay.
Show me. Lift them high. Right, it is decay. Anytime you see the word cut, depreciate, decrease, you are seeing something that's telling you about decay. Okay, this was one of the rubrics from one of our free response questions on one of our unit tests. Okay, now, you guys are going to do free response questions similar to the ones that we've done on our tests, but today you're going to review them after you do them by grading your classmates' work. Okay? Now, before we get into what the free response questions are, these rubrics are going to help you both answer your questions correctly and completely, and also help you score your classmates' work. Notice that on part A, you are going to get 1 point for naming the x and y variables. So when I score these free response questions, if you leave that off completely, I cannot give you the point. If you only name either x or y, I cannot give you the point. You have to name x and you have to name y. That gets you 1 point for part A. The second point from part A comes from creating the correct equation. So everything in the equation has to be correct. Okay? Now, part B, you're asked to graph your equation. If you graph 2 correct points on the line, you get 1 point. Now, the cool thing about these free response questions is if you made a mistake in writing your equation, if your equation is a little wrong, but you graph 2 points that are correct for your equation, even if your equation is wrong, then you still can get the points for graphing. All right? So I am going to bring you one of 2 free response questions. We have a red and a blue. They're going to be alternated. You're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to shoot for 10 to 15 minutes for you to answer completely the free response question. Those of you who get this free response question, I will also bring you a calculator. One is calculator active, one is calculator inactive. I'm going to set the timer as soon as I get all the work passed out. Anybody have any questions? Yes, you can write on this. Okay, so again, I'm going to put 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to put the clock up. We're going to keep this within 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll give you the next bit of instruction. I don't see anything wrong with this other than you haven't told me what X and Y mean yet in this context.
Oh, so put what this is up here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I see some of you have finished. The next step of this, I want you to open up your Chromebook and go to Google Classroom. I'll remind you of this as I see more of you finish. Open up your Chromebook. You go to Google Classroom. I want you to open up that document. You can either type your answers into the boxes provided, or if you have your phones, you can take a picture of your work and attach the picture, insert the picture into the document, whichever works better for you. You can either type the work that you have in front of you, or you can insert a picture of your work into the document.
Go on this.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus done?
No. You've already sent yours to him.
Yeah.
He's about to send his to you.
Okay.
All right? So once he does that, you're just waiting on him now.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So guys, while you are getting shared, if you have already gotten your document shared with your partner, there has also been posted the rubrics for the free response that I had on the board. Whatever your partner had, if your partner answered red, you're going to open the red rubric. You can go ahead and follow the instructions on the document to type the score that you are giving your partner in the document. Okay, so if it's worth 2 points and you only give them 1, you're going to say score 1 of 2 because you didn't name the variables. All right, so you give them a score and a reason for any points that they missed. All right, so you see how you're going to look at her work and compare it to the rubric. So is this the correct initial value? Is this correct common ratio? Okay, so you're going to give her 2 of 2 points because everything's correct. You can make a copy of that rubric.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah, that's fine. You can make a copy of that rubric and just put her score out beside. If either of you miss any points, give the explanation for the points that you didn't give. Okay? Okay, guys. So as you finish scoring and sharing back your work, there is an exit ticket reflection in the exit ticket section of Google Classroom. So once you have completed your work, shared your work, and scored your partner, then you're going to do the exit ticket reflection in the exit ticket section of Google Classroom. After we completed the lesson, I feel that all of our lesson objectives were met. Some students had some misunderstandings about which function had a constant rate of change or a common ratio, but as we moved through the activities, we were able to have discussion and clear up some of those misunderstandings. So even the kids who were struggling still ended up at the end of the day meeting the objectives. In this lesson, I made some adaptations for some kids who were struggling with technology and gave them some other options to use a different kind of technology in order to share their work with one another. If I were to teach this lesson again, I would give them a brief crash course on how to use Google Docs, insert photos, and share documents with one another so that we didn't hit those roadblocks as we went through the lesson. We will continue after this lesson to review all of the functions that we've learned this semester and go deeper into our review of linear, quadratic, and exponential functions.